Welcome to the Delmarva Almanac. Each week we connect you to the best of Delmarva. Like other almanacs, our aim is to tell you a little bit about our past, our present, and events in the near future. I'm your host, Dana Kester McCabe. As the weather starts to cool, we start to think about putting our gardens to bed for the winter. This is actually an especially good time to think about what we want to do next spring, since preparing the soil in fall assures a good head start for next year. But before you start working on that, you have to have a plan. I asked sculptor Jan Kirsh, who is also a sought-after landscape designer, to give us a few tips about designing our gardens.
Drainage is an issue. I think drainage is probably the number one, here's a big challenge because we're so flat. It's, and with our recent weather climate change, it rains a lot and, irregularly. We are finding that the weather patterns are extreme. We may have 4 inches of rain during the course of a day and a half, and then it may not rain again for 3 weeks, and it's just so variable. So I would say that is one of the big issues. I try to cite plants that work in the environment. I am becoming more and more conscious just over the last 2 years of the extreme cold that we are experiencing. But I choose carefully, and I try to cite groups of plants together that make sense. Not only visually, the textures and the colors work, but their habits should be the same so that they're all compatible. You have to assess, this is the north side of the house. It's colder in the winter. Here's the south side. The wind is not going to be blowing on this side, so I can plant things that maybe need a little more protection. You have to just simply pay attention to the compass and what does nature give you? The more organic materials, no matter whether your soil is sandy and you live over on the coast, or whether you're in Royal Oak between Easton and St. Michael's and we have heavy clay and terrible drainage there, it doesn't matter. Everybody wants to have organic material mixed into their soil. So it's just, sometimes I counsel people to spend, if they have a very small gardening budget, maybe the very first year, all they do is work on their soil. And, they can put some pots around for color and interest and fill them up with fabulous annuals, and that's enough for that year. Spend your entire gardening budget on soil preparation and do a bang-up job, because then next year when you plant, the plants are going to make it and they're going to do well.
Jan also recommends that when choosing plants, you carefully research the ultimate size they will grow to. Otherwise, they could quickly grow too big for the spot you have put them in, and no amount of pruning or thinning will keep them from taking over. If there's not enough room for the plant's root system, it will not succeed. If you're planting a tree, will there be enough room between it and your house when it is full grown? Choosing plants may also depend on whether you don't mind planting annuals every year, or if you are trying to establish beds that require less yearly maintenance. The more you learn about plants before buying them, the more you will know how much care they will need in order to succeed. But Jan has some other design considerations.
No matter if I'm designing a garden that's over in Northern Virginia, or I'm working at the beach, or I'm working, here in Talbot County, I really like the garden to look like it belongs in the setting. I like the garden to serve the house well. The architecture of the house really has to be the leader, but the house and the garden really need to talk to each other. And I want the garden to look like it just flows out, right from the doorstep. That works best for me. And then I'm about color and texture, and I love designing gardens that are not just 4 seasons but 6 seasons. We really take advantage of the shoulders of our seasons. If someone has a strong preference for certain shades that they've used in their house, and I'd love to repeat the colors in the house out in the garden. I think that's a wonderful thing, so that you're looking out the window at the same colors that you're surrounded by in the house. But then there's the layer of whimsy and art and color and just that thrill of walking outside. I want some little special something to be happening.
Jan suggests that adding 1 or 2 personal touches like a statue or unusual plant container in key places can accomplish this. Another recommendation she makes is to plant masses of one type of plant with one color. Individual specimens are fine for intimate spaces or containers, where you'll be up close to enjoy them, but they may get lost in the overall view of things. Big splashes of color can make a showy display. The bottom line is that with some fall planning and preparation, you can have a garden that helps take care of itself so that you can enjoy being in it more than working in it. If you would like to find out more about landscape design services provided by Jan Kirsh, visit her website, jankirshstudio.com. Well, that's all for this edition of the Delmarva Almanac. We'd like to thank our community partners, the Friends of Delmarva Public Radio, the Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore, and underwriters, eatdrinkbuyart.com, for their help in bringing this program to you, our audience. Our theme music was provided by Brightside Studio. This show has been a Moonshell production. Thanks for listening. Until we meet again, may the rhythms and tides of Delmarva bring you good fortune.